Welcome, everybody. And I see a bunch of you have welcome to this session on effective online parenting tools for divorced, separated, and bereaved caregivers. Um, I hope you can all see the first slide and just some overview introductions. That's great. Thank you. That's going to be the work I'm going to be presenting here, and the talk basically is based on work that's been supported by the National Institute of Mental Health and the National Institute of Child Health and Human Development and National Institute of Drug Abuse and SAMHSA and the New York Life Foundation. And honestly, in particularly the bereavement work, the New York Life Foundation has been the major supporters or partner, as they like to say, of most of the bereavement work that you see around the country. So kudos to them. Just a little bit overview, background on the well, let me get to it. So that's the title. And let's see. Okay. The work I'm going to be, now everybody can see the second slide where it says team effort. Okay, super. I won't worry about that from now on. Thank you, Robert. The work I'm going to be presenting, though I'm the presenter, is a team effort. All of the work you probably see at the conference is not done by a single individual. This work is always done by teams of lots and lots of people. Some of the people involved here I've listed here, but there are even more people behind the scenes. But Charlene Wolchek's been my longtime partner, Jen Yun Tian. I'll be presenting a few data analyses. And when I say it's evidence-based, it's really, Jen has been the methodologist on that. Tim did a lot of the early work on family bereavement program and on and on. So just my nod and thanks to them for all of their work. Here's an overview of what I'm going to be talking about, and hopefully what we're going to be talking about. The background on this is pretty simple. There's a ton of research on parenting programs. Almost all of it has been on group parenting programs. And the story is really pretty remarkable, that we know a lot about how to help parents strengthen their parenting in lots of different situations. So I've reviewed a lot of this literature, and I was kind of came away very impressed by how far the field has gone. We know a lot of the technology and how to do it. A big problem is access. Most people, and there's been studies on this, most people, even when offered for free, do not go to group parenting programs. And there's been some studies that show as few as, if you offer it on a community-wide basis, about 5% of people that you offer it to actually show up. So part of that is understandable. It's an access issue. There's a lot you have to do to mobilize to get there, and there's childcare, etc. So there's been a push in the last couple of years for online programs. So that's what we're going to talk about today, online programs. We're going to focus on two. One is the New Beginnings program, which is for parents and caregivers following parental divorce. I'm going to start there and start by talking about the effectiveness of the program, and then sort of how we translate that into an online format. And then we're going to look at one of the tools they do, and I'm going to ask you for your reaction to it. The other program is the Family Bereavement Program. Again, we've done a lot of work on the program and started out as a group program. We have now developed online tools that are free and accessible to anybody on our website from that program for aspects of parenting, and I'll go over them. And again, I'm going to show you some of the program, and we're going to talk about it. And the question always is, how would you use this program? Either as a parent or a caregiver, personally, or if you're somebody who works with, in this case, bereaved or divorced parents, how would you use the program? Okay. I'm also going to ask you to chime in, to discuss different things, and we'll use the chat for that. And I'm not sure if you can see the chat. I can see it, and I can just report out what people say. Can you, those who I can see, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see the chat? You don't see the chat. Yeah. Oh, you do see the chat. Okay, great. All right. Okay. All right. So that's basically the overview of the program. Let's get started. So as I said before, I'd say over the last 35, 40 years, there's been a ton of really hard-nosed research on in-person parenting programs. And the question has been, and almost all of this was supported by the National Institute of Health, for a wide, teaching a wide range of parenting skills, including effective discipline, because a lot of this work got started with kids who were having, parents of kids who were having problems with acting out, with problems of aggression. But also when we think of internalizing problems, anxiety, depression, they've been developed for children of all ages, or parents of children of all ages, starting with teenagers with their first child, to people in various challenging situations, like the ones we work with, bereaved families or divorced families, but also children of depressed parents, children of acting out parents, etc. The story has been great, and it's one of the surprises in this area is that not only are, the other interesting thing about these programs is, even though if you go on the web and you search them out, you'll see everyone has a different name, Triple P Parenting Program, Oregon Social Learning Center Program. For us, it's Family Bereavement Program. If you look inside the program in terms of what they actually do, most of it is the same. Some of them do it more artfully than others, but most of the content of the way we teach or support parents to be more effective in whatever challenges they have, we're using pretty much the same techniques. Why? Because they work. Okay. The positive side of that story also is that the research has come out quite good, to the extent that the effects, the positive benefits, last in many cases into adulthood. So on the slide, you'll see up to 20 years later. So if you start with a kid who's, who's in elementary school, that goes into when the child is between their 20s and 30s. And I find that to be a very heartening story. One, it says something about the power of parenting. And it also says that, we know a lot about what to do, how to help parents strengthen their goals of being effective parents. Yeah, this is my slide. See, I'm talking ahead of my slides, but this is my slide that talks about the review I've done in terms of reviewing randomized trials of parenting programs. And these are the populations that you see. They've been used with divorced, bereaved, Hispanic, African-American families, children with aggression problems, children receiving WIC services, women and children services, low-income families, parents with HIV, and on and on. Great. So let me just ask in the chat, how many of you have used in-person parenting programs, and what's been your experience? And just if anybody feels like sharing that that you've used a parenting program, I'll be the first one to disclose I didn't use it, but my wife did. When we had our first child, we didn't know what we were doing. You bring home your first child, and they hand them to you, and they tell you, okay, it's yours now. But so my wife went to a child study, and she got a lot out of it. So Helen, thank you for sharing. So your experience wasn't as good. They didn't fit your family's needs. Okay. Okay. So another person says they use an established program, Parenting with Dignity. I don't know that program, but that sounds great. Excuse me. I'm getting notices on my computer, obviously. Okay, so a lot of Nikki shared that a lot of programs weren't available to their family because they were just above the income level. Okay, so it's very variable. And as I say, if you go on a community basis, let's say in a school district, and you offer everybody a program that's highly touted in the literature and it's written up all over the place, only about 5% of people will come. Okay. And Jules, it sounds like you've had some experience in teaching classes. And I absolutely agree with you. Jules says it's important that it fit for, it needs to fit the needs of the parents that are there. And that's one of the things that makes it work. And that's one of the things that I can tell you, although Rachel says a lot of the programs are antiquated. I agree with that. Yeah. Well, like I said, this work's been going on for, geez, more than 40 years. So, of course. So the idea is good, the effectiveness is good, but it's not, well, everything that's good about it is not necessarily getting out there. So that's where online parenting programs come in. They're designed to remove a lot of the barriers to delivering, to reach people, frankly. That, we know about how to support and promote effective parenting, but there's a disconnect. And people are now developing online tools. It's a new world where you can reach more people. It's much less expensive. The logistical barriers of coming to a center or someplace and travel, etc., aren't there. People can get in their own home. Many parents do it, on their cell phone. It can be integrated into professional services, reduces stigma. The question is, can you translate what's done in a group program, what's effective in a group program, not antiquated, Rachel, but what's effective, what works? Can you translate that into an online program? Okay, yeah, Rhonda, and that's a good point, Rhonda. Rhonda shared. Thank you for sharing that. Having a children with special needs, sometimes you're not treated as well as you should be at a parenting program. So, have any of you used online programs, online parenting programs? If you have, why don't you, and you feel like sharing in the chat, you just put it in the chat and I'll read it out. But, basically share how they work for you, and in some cases, what have made them difficult to use. I'm particularly interested in that because, as you see, I've been developing. That's what I'm doing now, is I'm translating programs into an online format, trying to make it as useful as possible, which I'll share with you. Okay. So before we get to looking at some online programs, I want to briefly talk a little bit about what the research has found on that. Turns out this work's been going on for maybe the last 10 years. It sounds like Parents Cafe, I assume, is an online program. Okay. There's been a fair number of evaluations. This is what's called a meta-analysis. A meta-analysis is kind of a statistical summary of what's been found in all of the studies of programs, in this case, online programs. And this is a meta-analysis by a person named Spencer and their colleagues, relatively recent, 2019. They reviewed 28 studies. And they found the average effects were good. Online programs seem to work, just taken as a whole. And I don't know what your experience has been. And I don't know Parent Cafe, which somebody said they've used. But there are evidence-based parenting programs out there, and in some, they seem to have positive effects. All right. And they seem to have positive effects in a number of ways, to strengthen the quality of parenting and encouraging parents to stick with it, to reduce parent-child conflict, to reduce child behavior problems and even parent emotional problems. The effects seem to be comparable to what people find for group programs. So that's encouraging. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at an example of an online program developed from an effective in-person program. So first, we're going to take a look at, we're going to use the New Beginnings program. This is for a program for divorced and separated parents. And first, I'm going to walk through what they did in the group program. And this is actually one of the most best research-supported programs in the literature. So what it is, it's a 10-group program, small groups, 6 to 8 people. It's 2 hours per session. They have a saying in the program. I said they. It's actually, I'm one of the co-authors in the program. So we have a saying in the program that the home practice is the program. This is even when it's done as group, that it's not what happens here in group that really makes a difference for your children. It's what you do at home, how you take the program home. And every session actually has home practice assignments. They have highly trained group leaders, which means it's expensive. Just to run the program, we did a cost analysis. What it costs to run the program was $600 per family. So it's not cheap. And then parents actually have to get there and find childcare, etc. But it's been evaluated. It's been really well evaluated in 4 randomized trials. And the results have been extraordinary. The benefits to children have lasted over 15 years. and including reduce mental health problems, reduce substance use and abuse, reduce high-risk sexual behavior, and reduce what people in the divorce world call the pain of divorce. What that basically means is that most children are resilient from any stressor, but the pain often lingers. And parents through this program have been reported 15 years later reduced pain of divorce for their children. The children report also higher levels of academic achievement and self-esteem. So what are the tools? So let's get down to what's in these programs, what makes them effective. And here I just summarized, this is for the New Beginnings program, but it is similar to other programs, others that aren't antiquated as somebody put in the chat. Rachel put antiquated. One big category of things has been to provide a number of tools to increase what we call the warmth of the relationship between the parent and the child. And the activities there, none of them are rocket science. They all sound pretty simple, very straightforward. One is called Family Fun Time, which basically means a scheduled time every week that kids can count on where you do something positive as a family. Second is one-on-one time, and that is meet in a small group, one-on-one with your child for 10 minutes and do a positive activity. A third is catch them doing good. Praise them when you see them doing something that you appreciate. Third is active listening. We're going to actually look at part of the program for active listening so you really get a feel for it. Second area is effective discipline. And third area, which is particularly important for divorcing families, is interparental conflict. As you probably know, one of the things that makes divorce particularly difficult for children is when the parents continue to fight after the divorce. So we developed a number of strategies to help parents reduce interparental conflict, and particularly reduce children's involvement and exposure to interparental conflict. So that's, in a nutshell, the tools. Well, how do they teach the tools, and how do they support the tools? Well, for every tool, it's a very similar process. One, parents already know about this. As one parent told us afterwards, when I went to this program, I thought, and she was very funny, she thought, oh, I'll teach them a thing or two. I know what I'm doing, but let's check it out. So for each tool, we raise their awareness by just talking about it and their motivation for doing the tool. Because as this parent continued to say was, they didn't teach me anything I didn't already know. I knew about all these tools, but I also knew I wasn't doing it. So, and I think that is kind of the magic of these programs, is they connect with the parents' already knowledge. Sometimes you teach them things that are new, and you provide simple ways tools that they can use right away to do what they already know they want to do. That includes modeling of how other parents, what it looks like to do it. Also, one of you said in the chat, it has to be individualized to parents, and then nothing could be more spot on, right? For every parent, the tool might look simple, but it's not so easy to do. So what New Beginnings does is they put that right up front, is what might make it difficult to do this with your family. And there's a whole host of things that might make it difficult. And these things are different for every family. And the program helps them problem solve. Okay, so it's hard to schedule this regular time because I'm so busy, and whatever the problem is, my child doesn't want to be with me. Lots of problems. And give them strategies to handle whatever the barrier is for them. And then to go through it, to provide support on how did it go, and to problem solve with them. I have a saying, I've supervised a lot of these groups, and my observation is, these programs, they're structured. Parents have a manual, or the leaders have a manual here. What's that, what a manual looks like? There's a manual for one of the programs that we run. Big, fat, heavy thing. And the leader's supposed to stick to the manual. But from a parent's perspective, every parent should feel like this program is personal to me. It's built around my needs. It's structured, everything they're talking about is something I can relate to. So for every parent, it should feel like it's individualized, even though it's a structured manual. Everybody does the same skills. Okay, this is true pretty much of all the effective parenting programs. If you've been in a program that doesn't give you home practice and a good way, tools that you can use right away, but just kind of gives you generalizations of theory and whatever, frankly, you're not in the right program. In the New Beginnings program and in the Family Bereavement program, I'm going to talk about in a little bit, parents are kept very busy. For every session, they learn a new tool. They're given home practice to practice the tool after the session. And after they learn a tool, so let's say family time, in session 1, they keep on doing it over the next 10 sessions. Plus, they add a new tool every week. By the end of the program, they're using all 10 tools each week, at least for the last weeks. So they're really busy. And I think if you ask them, they like it that way, because they see the response from their children. So in a moment, we're going to talk about, whoops, Jules. Okay. In a moment, we're going to be looking at one of the tools, the listening tools. But this is a little graph that just shows you, I told you a little bit about the research before. This is a graph that shows you the effects of the program on children's internalizing problems. Think of depression. This is the child depression over 15 years. NBP refers to the New Beginnings program. And this is the number of children who had a depressive episode over 15 years in New Beginnings. So it's a little bit less than 15%. And here's in the control group, the comparison group, over 15 years. And you can see it's a lot more. And 15 years later, you can see the difference. Here it's more like 35%. So, quite honestly, and I'll go off script here for a moment. When I started doing this work, which was many years ago, I didn't think that a program that lasts 10 weeks could have effects that last 15 years. And we saw it in the New Beginnings program in our evaluation. I still didn't really believe it, to tell you the truth. So that's why I went and did 2 literature reviews of all the programs out there. And we're not alone. So this is where tomorrow we'll be talking in another session about the power of parenting. It's real. It's really real. And so we have to take it really seriously, like any other strategy or program or effort that really makes a difference in people's lives. Okay. So the challenge is, how do you translate, this is the group program, how do you translate this into an online program? So we've developed what we call New Beginnings, which means electronic new beginnings. And the program basically is 10 units, same 10 units as the group program. Each unit takes about 30 minutes. We actually have a 6-unit version now, but it starts at 10 minutes. Each unit takes about 30 minutes, which, remember the group program, it took 2 hours. This takes 30 minutes, and there's home practice after every unit. The goals of New Beginnings are to do everything we did in the group program, but put it online in a way that's really engaging. You can go on the web, and I'm sure almost all of you have, and look around, and there's a website for almost everything. But frankly, most of them are more entertaining than useful. How do you engage people online when you're not there to talk to them individually? And that's a challenge. How do you personalize it to parents' own experience? So every parent who goes on says, oh yeah, this is for me. Yeah, this relates to me. Both the tool they're using and what might make it difficult to use. It has to be highly interactive. It has to be home practice. And it has to meet the needs of a diverse population of mothers and fathers. In the divorce world, that's a critical issue. For many years, the fathers were seen as more adjunct, more visitors, and that's not the case anymore. Across ethnicity, across social class, across all sorts of situations. So that's the challenge. So this will give you a sense of, I hope it gives you a sense of the what we do in the program. One is motivate parents to why this tool. Engage, start with parents identifying their own goals, what they want to accomplish on this with this program. Look at what the divorce has been like for them, and look at how they can develop a positive family cycle. Things that they can do to strengthen their bonds with their children, family time, one-on-one time, catch them doing good. How they can be a good listener to their children. Parents often say, what do I tell my children about the divorce? What do I tell my children about the other parent? What do I tell my children is the right thing to do? That's important, but what's even more important is, how do I listen to my child? How do I tune in as to what's going on with them in a way that opens the door to a conversation rather than closing the door to a lecture, if you will. So listening tools, first we call big ears, which means basically, I'm here for you. Open-ended questions. Summary responses. This is what I hear you saying. Feeling responses. This is what I hear, how it feels. We're going to go over the activity for feeling responses, and I'll Be very interested in your feedback. Then reduce interparental conflict, a number of strategies, and increasing effective discipline. And as you can see, it's a lot. But we've had hundreds, if not thousands, of parents go through it. And as I said before, not only can they do it, they tend to really like it and really benefit. So every session has kind of the same set of activities. So what's this new tool about? Why should I use it? How does it link to what I want to accomplish, my goals? How do I do it? What does it look like? What does the modeling look like? Give me some practice with it. How to do it at home? What might make it difficult? How do I handle that? What are the solutions to that? Then how to use it, and how did it go? Support the use. So, see what we're trying to do. Even though it's online, it's trying to be supportive of the parents' own efforts. So the parents check in and they say how it went. They fill out a form, they check off how it went. And if it didn't go well, they check off the reason it didn't go well. And then they talk about solutions. And they get a lot of reminders to do the home practice. So, all right. All right. A big issue here in online programs is motivation. So we have a lot of things we built into the program to build and support parents' motivation. One, we start the program with parents selecting their own goals for the program. It's basically, why am I here? And how do I hope things will be different after being in the program? They get feedback for all the exercise they engage in. They hear other parents who've done use this tool, and these are actual parents. We don't make it up. They then very concretely set a time that they want to use the tool. They get tips for effective use. They deal with what might make it difficult. They report on how it went. They get an email message to encourage them to do the home practice, along with videos of what it looks like to do it. And even in an online program, you can praise people. And let's face it, we all like that. So those are the tools the New Beginnings program uses. So now we're gonna get to the more fun part. I'm gonna move to the background, and we're gonna watch the program in action. And the piece I've selected for you is the piece on active listening. Now, we teach active listening in 3 steps. One is what we call big ears, but it's basically the statement, I'm here for you. How do you get your child talking? What is an open-ended question? Like, what happened in school today? How do you keep them talking? How do you show you're interested? Nod and a lot of eye contact, and just say, wow, tell me about that. And summary responses. When a child's talking, you have to stick with them and show that you heard what they said, you didn't misunderstand. And then feeling responses to show that you understand how they're feeling. I'm going to show the clip on feeling responses. If there's a big demand request from you folks, that I go back and show maybe summary responses, or I'll be able to do that. But we have a couple of these I'm going to do, so we have limited time. But I'm going to show feeling responses. As you watch it, check off to yourself. Look at how we build motivation for a parent to do feeling responses, how we teach it as a practical tool parents can use, and how we keep it interactive. Right. So online teaching of feeling responses and new beginnings. Oh gosh. All right. Can you see the new beginning screen with all the units? Somebody unmute and tell me if you can see that.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Then this is actually, if you were in the program, this is the menu of the program. So family fun time, one-on-one time, good listening. The 4 talk to me's is what I talked about in terms of big ears and open-ended questions. This is what we're going to watch today.
Welcome to Unit 4.
All right, we're going to start now. I can't see your the chat, so if you don't see the program, please speak up, and I'll do my best to make an adjustment. So I'm going to click on it. You should see it.
Before you go, sorry to interrupt. What I'm seeing on my screen, it says online teaching of feeling response in new beginnings, and it's a picture of a mom and a child. Is that what you're meaning to show us?
Nope.
Oh, there you go. Now I see a window.
All right,
Now
this
I
is what I'm.
see the response begin.
All right, thank you. Whoops.
Now that you know how to give a summary response, it's time to learn about feeling responses. Feeling responses are particularly important after divorce or separation. Big changes can overwhelm children with feelings of anger, anxiety, and sadness. By using them, you act as an emotion coach, helping your children give words to their feelings and accepting that these feelings are okay. This helps your children to cope. Feeling responses also show children that you want to understand their experiences, which makes them feel valued. They tell them you care about what's happening to them, and in turn, they feel more connected to you. When giving a feeling response, you describe what you think your child is feeling, such as, "It seems as though you're feeling sad." Sometimes it's hard to guess their feelings, but you can look for clues by what your child says, by their tone of voice, and by their facial expressions. You can also put yourself in your child's place and consider how you would feel. Just as with summary responses, you should always follow feeling responses with a question like, "Did I get that right?" This reassures your child that they are the expert on what they are feeling and gives them a chance to correct you. As you watch the next video, notice how the father's response makes a visible difference in his daughter's feelings, and as a result, her relationship with her father.
Shania, how many times have I told you not to throw your backpack? This kid never listens to me.
Fine. Select what the father did to show he wasn't listening.
Well, I will answer this, but maybe in the future we can have you chime in. I think he did all the bad things.
I agree. The father reacted immediately without stopping and thinking, and he didn't pay attention to his daughter's body language or expression. He clearly wasn't listening.
Notice how she's reteaching.
Now watch what happens when the father uses his listening tools, as well as good summary and feeling responses.
Something's up with Shania. Shania, looks like something's bothering you. What's up?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Kathy's a jerk.
I need to know more. So, what happened?
Never gonna do anything with her again. We were supposed to hang out after school and she took off and went home with Lauren instead.
What did I hear? So, you thought you were going to hang out with Kathy, but she went home with Lauren instead?
Yeah, I had things planned for us to do.
What is she feeling? So I bet you're feeling disappointed and maybe a little angry?
Yeah, I was really looking forward to it.
I bet you were, honey.
Select what the father did to show he was listening and cared about his daughter's feelings.
Right. So notice where it's interactive. It asks the parent who's doing the program can't just skip from one to the other. They have to respond. He stopped to think before responding. He leaned in, used good eye contact. He used a summary response that they had learned earlier. He followed with a good feeling response. So it's really all of the above.
I agree. The father stopped to think, used good body language by leaning in, and used excellent summary and feeling responses. He was practicing good listening. Sometimes children are more likely to express their feelings with body language rather than words. Take a look at these feeling faces. Do any of them look familiar? Select each face that expresses a feeling one of your children might have shown in the last week.
Okay, they're personalizing to what your children show. My children, I was shy and nervous.
By observing your child's facial expressions, you can begin to understand their feelings and to show you understand them through feeling responses. For some children, it takes time for them to become comfortable talking about their feelings. By using feeling responses, you are opening the door for your children to share their feelings, as well as showing them that their feelings are okay. Sometimes you are giving them the vocabulary to label the feelings that they may not yet have the words to express.
So this next section actually has them practicing what they've learned, and you'll see how they do it in the program. The parent has to pick what the best response is to a different situation.
Here's a chance to practice your summary and feeling responses. For each situation, choose the best summary response, then choose the best feeling response.
Okay, so the situation is we got our history test back today, and I got a really bad grade. I studied so hard for it. I even stayed home from the movies last week to study, and it didn't even do any good. I'm so sick and tired of that teacher and his stupid tests. So here's the summary responses, shows that basically summarize what the child says and ask whether you got it right. The first response is, that's okay, would you like me to help you study for the next exam? Is that right? Well, that's a parent who wants to be helpful, but they're not sure they heard what the child said. You studied really hard for your history test, but it didn't pay off. Is that right? That's a good summary response. That teacher never tests you on, it tells you to study, did I get it right? So here a parent is trying to take the child's side, but still hasn't keyed in on what the child said. And here Liza reinforces it, says, I agree. So now we have to choose the best feeling response. You shouldn't be angry. Well, that's not really honing in on acknowledging the child's feelings. Sounds like you're disappointed and angry. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. And the last one is just blaming the child. Again, I got it right. Okay, and then we do another one. I'm not going to, it won't let me click through. So it won't let me proceed until I actually answer the question. Okay. So the program is structured that the parent has to go through
I think we might have lost Irwin. Hello? Oh, is there anybody? I think we
Okay.
might have.
Oh, yeah, I'm here. A lot of us, I think, are here. Yeah, he's sort of, maybe it was an internet connection or something.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
That-
I'm like, wow, did anybody, hello?
It's like he was just right there and just went out the way. Yeah.
Right.
Do we still see him on the call? Let's see.
Nope. I see Erica, Belinda. I see you, S. Harris too. And
Yeah.
someone else who has a nice thing. Tennessee Voices. I like that. Jay, there's still 27 of us here.
Yeah, I'm still here too.
Hey, Tina.
So what happened to Kelly? Is Kelly still on?
Yeah, that's me.
Oh,
Just
okay.
trying to, I know. Trying to troubleshoot this as well.
Yeah, he did a magic act there.
Right. That was kind of sweet.
Yeah, it was. Talking to us about an exercise, and he goes, okay, I just have to go over here to see if I was right. And boom.
Oh no.
I was liking those exercises too.
Yeah.
I wonder if we'll get that video. We should ask him, huh?
You will. You will. All the videos for all the sessions for the conference will be
Oh.
available within the next week or two while Kelsey works on getting them all set up and available. And then they'll be available for 90 days after she gets them up.
Oh, that's amazing, because that there, all of us here, you know, learning, we could actually offer that as educational session, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. That was great information. Well, we can give him a couple minutes to see if he comes back. Oh, hey, hooray.
Hi.
There you are. We were missing you. You want kaboom,
This is a
a
problem.
magic act.
Yeah, I know, but I'm a little concerned. Were you following? You weren't seeing me, but were you following the PowerPoint?
Everything went when you left. It left with you.
It left with me.
He just kind of vanished from the screen.
And I was talking.
Oh no.
But all right. Well, we'll shoot it again. Kelly, are you on?
Yes.
Kelly, I don't know what went wrong.
I'm not sure either. 1 minute you were there and presenting, and then you said, oh, I can go over here and pull this up, and then you just poof, vanished. I'm not really sure what happened there.
Sometimes it can be with the internet connection, and it's also getting very cool out too, and wind's picking up. So I always try to say that. I could be wrong, but
All right. Well, let's do the best we can. You should now see the screen that says E-New Beginnings Home Practice of Listening. Is that what you see?
Not yet.
You don't see that? Oh, okay. I need to share screen. Oh, that's on me. Sorry.
There it is.
Okay, there it is. All right. So just tell me, where did I cut out? Did you see the feeling response video? You did not see the feeling response video.
I think that's what maybe you're just queuing us up for.
Actually, I'm past that.
I think we
I
saw
feel
the
like
feeling
we did see
response
the feeling
video. This is Tina.
Oh,
Sorry,
you
this was Tina. I think we watched that where we helped the kid talk about their schoorwork.
Yes.
And
Yeah, her problem with she's angry at Lauren and Kathy who didn't play with her after school.
Yeah, that's right.
And first the father did a very poor feeling response, and then he did a good feeling response.
Yes, we did see that one.
You did see it.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So then now I'm going to watch home practice. So they taught the skill, and now how do they practice the skill? All right. Do you still see me? Have I lost you?
I can still see you and your screen.
But you don't see. Okay. You see me on the screen. Now, do you see my courses?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to go into it.
To Unit 4 of New Beginnings. Today, you'll continue to learn good listening tools.
So this is how they do home practice of the skill of the listening skill.
Great work today. You've learned how to stop and think and how to respond with summary, feeling, and appreciation responses. You also have a tool for gently postponing a conversation when you can't commit to good listening. Remember, practice is the program. The more you use these communication tools, the more your children will share what's important to them. This kind of positive attention will help your children feel closer to you. When your children feel more connected to you, they are more likely to listen to you, and discipline will become easier. In the next week, your home practice assignment is to continue using the relationship building skills. Every week, do family fun time and one-on-one time. Keep practicing Catch 'em Doing Good and your good listening tools as often as you can.
You see all the home practice. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Kelly, can you? Okay.
Yep.
You see all of the home practice they have this week? Family fun
Yes.
time, one-on-one, Catch 'em Doing Good.
Yes, I can hear you.
Good listening as often as you can. And this is real. Parents are, by this time, this is like the 4th meeting, they're doing all of this. It's helpful to think ahead about things that might make it hard for you to use your good listening tools with your children and come up with a plan for how to make it easier. Here are some things other fathers have said can make good listening hard to do. Yeah.
Select what you think might be the hardest part for you.
Okay, so here we're individualizing it to them. You saw the skill, but let's not be naive about it. The things might make it difficult. So let's say a parent says, I feel unsure about how to help my child with problems. When your child has a problem, you might worry that you won't be able to help. But if you use good listening, you can help your children learn to solve problems themselves and become good decision makers. Here's how other fathers have handled this situation. Pick the solutions that you think will work in your family or enter your own solution. So if they don't like any of our solutions, they can enter their own. And then they just write in. I will think about it and more and figure out what I want to try. Okay.
Here's the plan you came up with for how to make it easier to use your good listening tools.
See how individualized it is. The parent says, this is what is going to make it difficult for me to listen to my child. And here's what I think I'm going to try. And then they click this, email my plan to me. They've given us all their emails. They had to because it's online. And they will get an email in the next couple of days with their plan, their problem to do their home practice.
There are
So,
tips in the resources section that will help you as you practice. After you do your home practice, you're ready to start the next unit. See you then.
all right. So, all right. So that's what that looks like. And I think okay, so you're back to the screen, right? All right, I'm going to skip through this because we're running late. We lost a lot of time when I went offline. I want to get to the bereavement stuff. So for the family bereavement program, this is a program for families who experience the death of a parent or caregiver. It uses very similar skills with some additions to what the New Beginnings program. It's a 12-session program, 2 hours a session, same model of teaching. Again, we did a randomized trial, 15-year follow-up with remarkable results. I don't have a slide on it, but I can tell you reduced depression on the part of the children and the parent. This program actually has equally positive benefits for the parent and the children. And here it's based on, here's the basic model, and it's a visual that I really like because it captures it. For bereaved parents particularly, and for many parents in highly stressful situations, parenting is built on a foundation of self-care. You know, the saying they have on an airplane, you know, put on your own mask first and then put on your children's mask if you need oxygen. Self-care, I can't emphasize enough how important it is for, particularly for bereaved parents and others in very stressful situations. So we spend a lot of time in the program on self-care. And we're going to look at what that looks like. Then building strong family bonds. Again, family time, one-on-one time, catch them doing good, active listening, the same as in divorce, except listening to your children's grief, which, when you think about it, is particularly challenging for parents who themselves are grieving. But there's where we use the tool of listening as a way the parent can support their children in the children's grief. Rules, effective discipline, and overall helping the children cope with their grief. I haven't said it, well, I'll say it now. Parents aren't given enough credit in terms of bereaved parents. They're not given enough credit for how critical they are. From my review of the literature, and I think other people's work as well, parents are probably the most powerful, impactful resource for their bereaved children. This is a graph which I actually love, which shows from the evaluation of the family bereavement program the effects on parenting. This is what we call positive parenting. It's kind of the warmth and effective discipline. And what you see is immediately after the program, those in the family bereavement program have a big improvement. All this stuff we're teaching about listening and catch them doing good, it really works. It makes a big difference. And you'll hear this from the children as well as the parents. Big difference immediately. That's great, right after the program. But this is 6 years later. So this is a 12-session program. And here's how the difference it's made 6 years later. And I just find that heartwarming as one of the developers of the program, which is why I'm so passionate about disseminating it. It also reduced multiple problems, child problems and parent problems, up to 6 years later. Up to 15 years later. That includes for children, decreased use of mental health services and psychiatric medication. And for parents, decreased alcohol abuse. So what does it look like? Well, we have a website. I'm going to spend a couple of minutes showing you the website because we have lots and lots of resources for bereaved parents on the website. I want to make sure I'm not talking to myself. Kelly or somebody else just signal that you're hearing me, that you're with me.
I'm with you.
Okay, thank you. All right, this is the website for the what we're now calling the Resilient Parenting for Bereaved Families program. And it is built to have resources for bereaved parents to strengthen them being the resilient parenting they want to be. So tells them what they'll find on the website, defines what we mean by resilient parenting and what I just told you about what we call the 5 building blocks. And then we have a separate section of the website for parents and caregivers and a separate section for providers of service. I'm going to enter as a parent. Okay, and this I really love. This is what we call practical tools for you, for parents. What we've done basically is we've taken the parenting component of the family bereavement program, which we're calling Resilient Parenting for Bereaved Families. And we broke down several of the major tools that we teach in the program, and we made it a self-contained online tool. Parents can go on, there's no cost. They sign in and they can just do this practical tool on their own, whenever they want. And we have 4 practical tools up on the website now. Be kind to yourself, build strong family bonds, listen, and respond. So now I'm going to go in as a parent to be kind to yourself. Our basic model here is self-compassion. All right, you should see a picture of a woman holding her hand over her heart, being very contemplative.
It's it. Yep.
Hi, I'm Liza. I'm here to share with you.
Somebody spoke up and said something?
Yes, we can see it.
Super. Okay, let's get right to it.
A practical tool about being kind to yourself when you're hurting. Bereaved parents tell us that being kind to themselves really helps them get through challenging and often painful times. The loss of a partner and parenting on your own are the hardest things that most people will ever have to deal with. Being kind to yourself can help with your grief. It can help you when you are feeling stressed, sad, angry, or overwhelmed. It can also make it easier for you to do what is important to you as a parent or caregiver. Let's listen to what parents have said about being kind to themselves when they are hurting.
I had a lot of survival guilt. I kept asking myself, what could I have done different? What did I say that caused this to go in this path? What did I do or what didn't I do? Or what could I have done better? And I was really hard on myself. I was probably my worst critic. So going through that section, I actually learned to talk to myself like I would to a friend. So I learned to talk to myself the way I would to someone else, and also encourage myself every single day like I would to somebody else. And that really changed the way I reacted to things, right? I started to see things different, which in turn was better for my daughter because she got to see a happier mom, a more positive mom.
I think, again, it reminded me about practicing grace with myself and giving myself more forgiveness and understanding that I'm not going to be perfect in this new parenting world. I know sometimes for me, my son will ask me questions and I don't always know the answer. And that makes me feel like I'm failing him in trying to understand our new reality and world. But being kind to myself allowed me to understand, Erica, you're not going to have all the answers. Just my recommendation to parents going through the same thing is, you know, we're doing the best that we can while trying to figure out how to manage through this traumatic event that we were not anticipating or expecting, and to just be kind to yourself and understand that we're not going to have all the answers, and to just give yourself some grace.
I like that.
In the next 15 minutes, you'll learn what being kind to yourself means and what it does not mean. You'll also learn about what makes it hard for a lot of people to be kind to themselves. We'll provide a practical tool to help you be kind to yourself and talk about some ways to make being kind to yourself a habit. Let's get started. Because everybody's grief is different, we'll show you a tool that you can use to be kind to yourself in your own way. Being kind to yourself means that you support yourself, which eases the stress and pain you feel. It doesn't mean that you are ignoring or denying your grief. It's been said that grief is the cost we pay for loving and caring. It is a normal process after loss, and it is hard. But some things people do make it even harder. They say unkind things to themselves, things that beat themselves up, like, "It's all my fault. I can't do this. I'm not a good enough parent. Other people do this better than me. Why can't I get over it? Things will never get better.
You sound familiar.
Everything is messed up. This is too much for me to do alone." Do any of these sound familiar? You're not alone. Many people have thoughts like these, but these thoughts can make you feel worse than you need to. And there's a lot of research that shows that repeatedly saying things like this can make you feel worse and make it harder for you to do the things that are important to you. The good news is that although most of us beat ourselves up at times, we're also able to be supportive and compassionate. When a close friend is hurting, we naturally try to be kind and say something to be supportive. It's what we do for people we care about, and it is one of the things that helps them get through stressful times. Our research finds that when bereaved parents give that same kindness to themselves, they have lower levels of anxiety and depression, and they have more positive relationships with their children. But for many people, it feels awkward or unnatural to give that same kindness that they give to others to themselves. Let's do a brief exercise to see what it feels like to be as kind to yourself as you would be to a close friend. I'd like you to think of a time in the last month when you were stressed or feeling bad. It could be something that happened in your family, with friends, at work, or somewhere else. Pick something that caused some stress, but nothing that was too difficult. Now, take a few seconds to think of a situation. Where were you? What happened? How did it feel?
Oops. So you give a couple of seconds. You can do this with Liza as you're listening.
Now, think about what you said to yourself at that time. What words did you use?
Sound reasonable?
Now, picture a close friend and imagine them in a similar situation. What would you say to them?
Somebody want to give me a response?
How is this different than what you said to yourself? Were you kinder to them than to yourself? Being kind to yourself is not the same as pitying yourself or being self-indulgent. It is recognizing that, like those you care about, you deserve to hear kind words when you're hurting. Here's a simple 4-step tool to help you be kind to yourself when you're feeling bad, angry, sad, anxious, fearful, or overwhelmed. Step 1 is to pay attention to and name your feelings. Naming your feelings helps you accept yourself as you are. You're not alone. Feeling depressed, anxious, scared, or angry at times is part of being human. In step 2, you ask, what unkind words am I saying to myself? Am I saying things that make me feel worse? Here are some unkind words that people sometimes say to themselves. Select the ones that you sometimes use or write in your own. The third step is to stop. Picture a stop sign. Then take 3 slow breaths. Remember that you want to be kind to yourself. The fourth step is to think of words of support, comfort, or kindness that you can say to yourself, like the words that you would say to a close friend who is hurting. Here's a list of kind words that other parents have used. Check the ones that you could see yourself using or write in your own. Now, practice this 4-step tool. To start, find a way to sit comfortably. Close your eyes if you'd like. Try to relax your body, your face, shoulders, arms, legs, and feet. Close your eyes if that feels comfortable, and recall the stressful situation you thought about earlier. Bring that situation to mind as vividly as you can. What happened? When did it happen? Where did it happen? Who was there? How did you feel? See if you can really feel the stress. Notice where you feel it in your body. Maybe your stomach, your neck. First, name the feeling. You can say to yourself, I'm feeling sad, angry, or anxious, or whatever the feeling is. By naming it, you bring awareness to whatever you are experiencing. This doesn't add to your suffering. You're just accepting yourself as you are. Step 2 is to notice if you are saying unkind words to yourself that make you feel worse. Step 3 is to stop. Picture a stop sign and just stop for a moment. Take 3 slow, deep breaths and remind yourself that you want to be kind to yourself. You can say, Let me be kind to myself. Step 4 is to say the kind words that you'd say to a close friend in the same situation, the ones that feel natural to you. You can repeat the kind words to yourself 3 times. Openly receive and feel the compassion and love you give to yourself. You may want to place your hand on your heart or your arm if that gives you comfort. Notice how saying these words to yourself or putting your hand on your heart makes your body feel right now. You can also recognize that you're not the only person who experiences difficult feelings like these. Say something like, I'm not alone. Many bereaved parents and caregivers go through this. We're going to close this exercise by just focusing on your breath. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Then open your eyes and write down the kind words that you said to yourself. Notice how it felt to use the 4 steps. Did you find it hard to do? If you did, that's okay. You're not alone. For many people, it feels awkward at first, but with practice, it'll feel more natural. Practice using the 4-step tool whenever you're feeling bad, until being kind to yourself becomes a habit. Like with any habit, you start 1 step at a time with a commitment to be kind to yourself when you're feeling bad. Here are some things you can do to make using the tool a habit. The exercise that you just did is available to you on the website. You can use it to practice the 4-step tool whenever you want. You can also remind yourself of your commitment to be kind to yourself. There are lots of ways of doing this. You can use Post-it notes, set up a daily reminder on your phone,
See, we
put
try to
being
be
kind
very
to yourself
practical.
in your daily calendar, or remind yourself as soon as you wake up each morning. Here is a list of kind words you came up with earlier.
Again, you
Select
give them
Email my list to me
an email.
to send it to yourself. You can add to your list over time. Other parents have found that it's helpful to post the list where they can see it. You could also make a list on your phone. If you think being kind to yourself will be hard to do, you are not alone.
I think what made it most difficult is, I think as a parent, you want to be the best parent that you possibly can be, and so you feel like being kind to yourself is maybe making excuses for where you feel you're falling short. But what I feel like made it work for me was knowing that true intention and deep within me, I am giving my absolute best. If I, go out in the world and practice kindness with other people, why do I struggle so much to practice that same kind of care for myself? And then in turn, expect my son to act kind to himself or to others.
when I started going through the program, and they started asking me questions like, would you tell someone else the things that you say to yourself? If you had a friend that felt this way, what would you tell them? It actually showed me to see myself for how important I am. Usually we tend to see everybody else more important, right? We tend to see everybody else as being our priority. And by being kind to myself, I learned that I was my priority, that I needed to focus on myself and give myself the support that I needed to be able to cope with what was going on and to be able to move past it in a more positive way.
Here are some challenges parents have told us about. Select the one thing you think will be the hardest for you and will help you come up with solutions. Here's how other parents have helped themselves. Remember to be kind to themselves. Pick the solutions you think will. Here is the plan you came up with for how to make it easier to practice being kind to yourself. Select email my plan to me and send this to yourself to help you remember what you decided. You've taken an important first step towards being.
Okay, I'm going to end it there so we can wrap up. Try and get back to you. Okay, can you see me now? Can you see me now? Kelly?
I can see you.
Okay. All right. So we only have like 3 minutes left. So you can find that exercise, those practical tools on the website, which is bereaveparenting.org. It's everything on that website is free and open access for anybody to use. And there's lots of other resources on the website as well, including, if you go on the website, go on the parent section of the website, parent or caregiver, go on the podcasts where we interview parents about support seeking and being kind to themselves. And a lot of articles that also we found that we think parents would appreciate, books and other resources. So I invite you all to do that. So in our last couple of minutes, let me just take whatever feedback you'd like to give in terms of putting things in the chat. Okay, so let me read what's on the chat. Okay, the cost for the family to use this online it couldn't be cheaper because it's zero. These practical tools are open access. Just click on it. You need to sign in because we want to keep count on who's there, but they're free to use. So while looking at the website, I see there is an option to become trained in this model. Did I read that correctly? Yes, you did. And that's for providers. We train parents, we train providers, people at agencies or in practice, to do the full group Resilient Parenting for Bereaved Families program. We are setting up trainings for the next year, which will be starting in January and in September. If you're interested, send an email to me. You have my email, irwin.sandler@asu.edu, or you can contact us through the website and just say that you're interested, and we will keep you informed of when the next training is and the cost of training and the qualifications for training, because you have to be able to run a group. The training is not just to learn the program, it's to be able to use the program. I think you all have to get to another session. And thank you. Oops, you can't see me. Thank you all for coming. And I hope to be in touch with some of you or all of you at a later point. And enjoy the conference.